Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Tyler, you own a couple of properties with a partner. My question is, why have a partner? Why not just do this on your own?
Yeah, I think from the jump, it was a lot less cash out of pocket, which is initially why I got approached and agreed to work with this partner. So, 50-50, and it was actually less. I paid about 25% of the initial cash investment. So it made it a lot more feasible from the start.
Having to bring less cash to the table is a huge benefit to having a partnership, but there's a few things you want to get figured out before you get started. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at how Tyler set up his partnership. So far, he's bought 2 properties with his partner. We'll take a look at those deals. We'll go over all the numbers and figure out what he's doing with his cash flow. Joining us on the show today from Indianapolis is Tyler Lingle. We'll take a really quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Tyler. If you're looking for a quick and easy way to finance a rental property, reach out to Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She has a loan program where she only cares about your deal. She doesn't need to see your pay stubs, your bank statements, or your tax returns. The only thing she's going to look at is the deal. She wants to know, does the property cash flow? If it does, she'll give you a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Now, the rates are going to be a little bit higher than a full doc loan, but it's still a great deal. She can close quickly and there's no hassle. If you want to learn more, reach out to Chaley personally at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056.
Rental Income Podcast.
Tyler, why don't we start things off talking about your portfolio? Can you tell me what your portfolio looks like?
Yeah, so the first property we bought was a quad. And so 4 units in that one. And then bought a single family home that we kind of fixed up a little bit, but it had a renter in there when we bought it. And then lastly, we bought a turnkey property that we turned into an Airbnb.
When you add up all your rents, like just your gross rent for your entire portfolio, about how much cash do you bring in every month?
Yeah, it's about $5,700.
Okay, awesome. Now, you own some properties with a partner. How did this come about? Like, how did you kind of decide that you were going to buy rentals together?
Yeah, it was never like a master plan type of thing. It kind of happened sort of spur of the moment. I had a friend who used to live in Indianapolis where I live. He moved out and he was actually living at home, but he was on a travel nurse contract during kind of the peak of COVID. And if you know anything about that, they were making a lot of money. So he was making something like $20,000 a month or something crazy for that field. And so he realized, gosh, I need to invest this. I need to, get into real estate. And so he approached me, and I was in real estate school trying to get my license. I had no experience investing yet besides my own primary residence. And he approached me, like I said. And so what I ended up doing is kind of hunting for a deal for us. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know the numbers too well. But we were having trouble running the numbers. This was, 2021 and, prices had already inflated a lot. So we ended up buying a quad. This quadplex, the numbers seemed to be penciling out really well with 4 streams of income. And so we got that kind of up and running and then just kind of waited, built up some cash reserves. And we figured, if this works out and we don't lose money, we'll do it again.
Right. So it just kind of happened, it sounds like. So did you have like any kind of formal written agreement, or did you just kind of figure things out one step at a time?
So me being kind of like a bootstrapping mindset, I didn't go to a lawyer and have him write out an agreement. I just went online and figured out you can set up an LLC pretty easy. It took me like 30 minutes. We both are 50-50 owners. And so I did that after we bought it, and we did what's called a quick claim deed to put it in an LLC. And so, yeah, that was kind of how it started for me.
And everything's been going good so far? You haven't had any differences on opinions on how to deal with different situations?
Well, That's a good question. We kind of wear two different hats, in that he at the beginning was more of a passive cash provider. He fronted about 75% of the initial investment on the first one, which was a lot of money. I fronted about 25%, but I did a lot more of the setting up. Like, I hired the manager. I figured out what the rents would look like. Got contacts for any contractors we would need, stuff like that. So I'm kind of the one doing like the day-to-day, so to speak, although it's not that much work. And he is kind of a bit more passive. He's in Hawaii right now, so I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of works out that way. So I think if I was working with someone that was as go-getter as me, we could clash more.
Yeah.
But I think he needs me a lot because he can't invest in Hawaii, so
Right.
it tends to just work out in that kind of balance.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the perfect partnership in a way, because I think normally if you guys are both doing half the work and the other partner is putting in more money, there could be some friction there. But with him being out of state and not being able to be involved in the day-to-day, that kind of evens things out a little bit with him putting in more money, right?
Right. It's definitely an agreement that I was fine with at the beginning.
Yeah. So with you putting in 25% of the money, how did that come about? Like, was he fine with that? Did he just have more money to invest, or is that something that you had to work out?
It was a point of tension, but more so for me and like guilt than him. I think one thing that I would say is like choosing a partner is like choosing a marriage, is what they say. And I think that's definitely true. And we plan to be in it for the long haul. And I don't plan to hire a bunch of other partners or partner because of the nature of who this person is he's that type of person that wouldn't, I guess, hold a grudge in the first place. So I think me getting a partnership with him, knowing the kind of guy he was, and both of us kind of not taking ourselves too seriously. Neither of us felt like we were the experts. So in terms of the payment, he initially was saying he would front all of the payment, actually, which was kind of wild. Yeah. But then it turned out to be like $80,000. And I just felt like I needed to pay a little bit. So funnily enough, I actually sold off some Bitcoin. That's a whole nother story, so I'll leave it out of it. But that's how I got the money for the first one, was actually from Bitcoin.
No way. Enough. Wow. Yeah, I think that was a good move. Like, just to have some skin in the game. I think that's going to lead to a better partnership down the road. So, and you guys, I know that you have a fourplex and a single family with them now. Do you see yourself buying more properties with them?
Yeah, actually, we both were on the phone kind of chatting about how the rentals were doing. And he was like, "Hey, man, I don't know if this is too soon." We bought all of these last year, mind you. So, I mean, it was pretty quick for us, at least. And he's like, "I don't know if this is too soon, but I'm kind of loaded and like locked and loaded and want to go back in." And I was doing this, kind of feeling the same way. Yeah. So we're currently under discussion about what we'll buy next.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about your deals and let's figure out what you've bought so far. So when you guys first set out looking for a property, I know you ended up buying the fourplex. Is that what you were looking for initially, or like how did that come about?
Yeah, no, we were not looking for a quad specifically. I had very little experience with what even quads were. But I got my license and immediately we started looking. So I waited until I had my license, which I felt gave us some cushion because I would keep some of the commission from it. And I toured this quad and it was really turnkey. And we wanted to get into real estate, but do it in a very conservative way at the beginning, just to kind of not jump straight into the deep end with a full rehab or anything. So this one was really nice in the inside. I felt like it could rent out quick. It was in a developing, growing area of Indianapolis. And so it just was running a lot better on the spreadsheets than any like other properties, single family or duplex. I think because it was a quad, and that kind of 4 streams of income.
And was it occupied when you bought it?
No, the previous owner actually did a lot of work and then sold it kind of as a flip, but it wasn't selling well because I think the market for a flipped quad wasn't too, I guess, in demand. And so we actually got it under asking, even though this was like the middle of 2021.
So what was the final purchase price?
Yeah, it was $328,000.
Okay. And there was nothing to do. I mean, the house sounds like it was ready to rent. Did you have any little things to fix, or was it literally rent ready on day one?
It was rent ready.
Awesome.
I think, yeah.
All right. So then for the down payment, so you put down 25% of the down payment and he put down the rest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. So now what's your mortgage payment on that property?
Yeah, the mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is about $1,400.
$1,400. Okay. And what is the property rent for when you add up all 4 rents?
Yeah, it's $3,000 gross.
Awesome. Okay. Now, do you have to pay any utilities, water, electric, or is that all on the tenants?
The tenants pay water and electricity and gas. The water is 1 meter. So with the quad, we have to actually send the bill to the manager who back bills it.
Okay.
So a little bit of work, but otherwise they're paying everything.
Okay. And so you have a property manager then on the property, so you're not managing it yourself?
Yeah, I decided that the time and the effort involved in leasing up 4 units in kind of a Class C neighborhood was just not worth my time.
Right.
So we hired a manager.
Okay. And then as far as repairs, how do you guys budget for repairs?
Yeah, so because all our properties are turnkey, I know down the road we'll have to buy a roof and, replace the furnace and stuff. But that's probably, fingers crossed, like 8 years down the road plus.
Yeah.
So we've been factoring in about $150 per door.
Okay. So you're just putting that into a savings account or something, just setting it aside so that when stuff comes up, you have the money there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to definitely maintain a good cash reserve cushion.
Okay. All right. So you got $3,000 in rents. Your mortgage payment is $1,400. You're setting $600 a month for repairs. Your manager is $300. So it looks like you have about $700 left over every month.
Correct.
So what do you guys do with that money? Are you splitting that 50-50, or are you just saving that, putting it aside for future purchases? Like that's a good amount of money.
Listening to a lot of smarter people than I've noticed that it seems like all the best reinvest profits early on.
Yep.
So we're collecting all of it in a bank account. So it's just been steadily growing. And we plan to actually do some investments within the properties to make them more attractive places to boost the rents.
Okay.
And to get longer lasting tenants too would be the goal.
I think that's smart. I mean, I think, reinvesting, making your properties better, I think that's a good use of the money. That's only going to increase your cash flow in the future. So I think that's a smart move. So how has that property been working out? Have you had any problems with your tenants or any issues with the property?
Being in a Class C area, I was initially very worried. However, it's been really great. The manager has taken care of things effectively. I saw a couple months ago on our owner statement that they did have to replace a water heater on one of the units, but it was like I never knew. I actually found out months later, and it was taken care of. And it's been going great. And now the cash flow from it is really nice. Every month we can count on, like you said, about $700 that we're taking home.
Okay, cool. All right. So you got that property up and running. And then how long did it take for you to get your second property?
Yeah. So we bought that one in September of 21. And then by June of 22, we started to get the yearning to go back into the market. We both had saved a lot of money. And so July of 2022 is when we bought the next one.
So your next property was a single family. Why did you buy a single family? Like the duplex seems like it was, the fourplex seems like it was working out. Why not buy another fourplex?
The quad is definitely strictly kind of an investment. It's not the type of place we foresee tenants staying in for years and years and years and really loving and cherishing this home. Unfortunately, it's a quad in this area, and that's just the nature of it. But we decided with our second purchase, we want a single family home, and we want to make this like a really nice quality place and kind of be proud of being its landlords. And so that's what we ended up buying.
Okay. Now, the first property, the quad was in a C neighborhood. What would you grade the neighborhood that the single family's in?
Yeah, the single family, I would say most people in Indy would consider it C plus. So it's still not the, best, most amazing place. But in order to cash flow well on this investment, we kind of had to make that trade-off.
Okay. And so with this property, you're doing Airbnb. How has that been working out?
Honestly, amazing. I was very worried that the area would hold us back, but luckily it's a quiet neighborhood and it is a lot of renters, but they mind their own business. Like it's not crime ridden or anything. And we decided to go for kind of a premium experience. So we did it up kind of as a boho theme. And my wife and a friend actually did all the staging, and they mostly used like antique and thrift stores. Okay. So we furnished it very cheaply, and the turnout was actually amazing. We call it like a boho bungalow, so it's all themed. And I think because it's themed, it is performing well on the algorithm. And so it seems to jump up pretty quickly on listings.
Is the income seasonal? Like, does it change a lot from season to season, or is it pretty steady throughout the year?
I'm figuring that out, but I have heard that November through March is very slow, especially in a place like Indianapolis that doesn't attract tourism at that time. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of holding my breath there, but we had our best month in October.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, we had $2,200 in rents, which I thought was amazing for this property.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of the money here. So how much did you end up buying the property for?
Yeah, so we bought the property for $165,000. It was a 2-bed, 2-bath.
Okay. And did you go with the 2-bed, 2-bath? Like, did you look and see that those properties were renting easier on Airbnb, or is that just the best deal that you could find?
I just saw the property listed and just had a hunch when I saw some of the aesthetical elements of it that it would just do well as an Airbnb. It, for lack of a better word, it was just really cute. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And when I saw the price point and what our mortgage would be, I'm like, I'm sure we can make more than that on Airbnb.
Sure.
It just was kind of an intuition type thing for me.
Now, as far as the down payment, did you have a similar arrangement on this one where your partner put in more money?
On this one, we ended up going 50-50, actually.
Okay. So how much cash did you need to bring into the deal?
Yeah, so it was 20% on 165,000, which I'd have to run the numbers, but I believe it was around $20,000.
Okay. And then
each.
For furnishing, did you just split that 50-50 too?
Yeah, we ended up splitting that 50-50.
Okay.
In fact, yeah, my wife just had a budget, and then I billed my partner after she was done.
Okay, awesome. How much is your mortgage payment?
The mortgage payment on that is about $850 per month.
And so the amount of income you're going to bring in every month is going to vary. And I know this is a fairly new property, but on average, how much do you project you're going to make every month?
Yeah, based on August through November data, we're averaging about $1,800 per month in gross bookings. Yep.
And as far as the expenses, so you've got utilities, how much do they generally come out to be?
I would say it's not too expensive because of the limited use as a short-term rental. Like 50% of the time it's sitting there, and it's about $200 per month.
And then with repairs, are you following a similar amount as the the quad that you're putting like $150 aside, or is this different?
Yeah, we're putting 150 aside. We are going to have to factor in some furniture depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
We are just figuring that out, how much that's going to be per year type of thing.
Okay. All right. So you got about 1,800 coming in. Your mortgage payment is $850. But, it's hard, I think, to put an actual number on what you're going to profit with this because it's so new, right? And like that 1,800 could even vary a bit. But I think you look like this looks like it's going to make money. I mean, I feel good about this. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw in October that the gross bookings were 2,200 and our mortgage was 850, I mean, it feels like a lot of money coming in. I think our LLC account looks pretty good right now.
Is it a lot of work to deal with the bookings and to coordinate cleanings and just making sure that you're doing the customer service stuff right? Do you feel like it's a lot of work?
If you can get your systems dialed in, I do not think it's much work. It does not take up much of my mental bandwidth. I have a cleaner who is notified automatically when bookings happen, and so she's kind of on her own schedule. She does the restocking. I just leave a bunch of bulk items kind of in the garage. So she's effectively doing all the managing. I very rarely go to the property at all, and I'm just setting the prices online, which doesn't take too much time at all. So it's honestly, if you can get your systems dialed in, I don't think it's too hard to self-manage these.
Like Tyler mentioned earlier in the interview, in addition to owning rental properties, he's also a full-time realtor, and he works with a lot of investors. So if you're interested in investing in Indianapolis, I think Tyler would be a great resource for you. I've got his contact information on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 394. I'd like to thank today's sponsor for making this episode possible. It's Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. Chaley is a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of loan programs, so if you come across a deal and your numbers are a little bit tight with the interest rates being a little bit high right now, Chaley has a ton of different loan programs, and she can find something that'll bring your payment down and make your rental cash flow better. If you want to find out more, just reach out to Chaley at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE, lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. Make sure you hit that follow button. I put out a new episode every single Tuesday, and if you're following the show, you'll get notified as soon as the next episode comes out. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.